Hi, welcome to another video. This is Mr. Chow from EnglishTuition.org. Now, the A-levels result have just been released last Friday. It took me a bit of time to sit down and do a quick video. I usually don't have many students who take the general paper for the A-levels. So it so happened that for the year 2022, one of my students had taken the A-levels GP, and here is her results and her maybe to give you share with you a little bit about the backstory for this student, and then after that hopefully we can learn something from the overall results from all my students, right? So this video is about just sharing my experiences. Okay, so I was very happy to receive a message from my student informing me that she just received her A-level results, and I asked her, how did it go? And I was pleasantly surprised to see that she got an A for GP. Now, why was I pleasantly surprised, right? Why was I not expecting my student to get an A? In fact, I think these students have got every chance to get an A, but if you listen to the backstory, I think you understand why I'm surprised, right? Because when these students signed up with me, she was rather weak in English because she studied in Taiwan, right? She only joined the secondary level in Singapore, and therefore her Chinese is super strong, right? She's taking higher mother tongue and she's scoring distinctions all the time, right? But she's lagging behind her peers in her secondary school days. So even up to O levels, she managed to catch up. Okay, the thing about this student is that she is a very fast learner, all right? She managed to catch up, and A's all her other subjects, but her English she got B3. Okay, so when I first started to work with her, she was just getting acquainted with general paper, and as you know, general paper there is quite a huge jump from O levels, and in the beginning she struggled a bit, right? And she was failing the subject, getting S pass, right? But again, I want to stress that this student is super hardworking, and she's a very, very fast learner, and I thoroughly enjoyed working with her, okay, because she just followed my teaching, and within a few short months, she's already out of the red, okay, no longer failing the subject, in fact, aiming for C, B, and as you can see, eventually A levels, she got an A, okay. So she put in a lot of effort. Her homework is very consistent, and not only that, she went beyond and above by submitting additional work in her free time, okay, to let me mark. And besides the homework that I've assigned to her, she took the initiative to do further stuff, right? For example, she had a vocabulary notebook, and she jotted down all the important words that she came across. So over time, okay, her vocab improved tremendously, all right? And being smart, okay, if you can see from the screenshot, all right, she actually got A's for all her other subjects again, okay, and she achieved the perfect score of 90 rank points, okay, for her A levels, right? And of course, she's super excited. I'm super excited. I'm very happy for her. I'm so proud of her, okay. So now, but I want to point out that this kind of story is because obviously this student managed to become a top student, right? And she is the exception rather than the norm, okay. It doesn't happen every day, okay. It was just fortunate, okay, that we came across each other and happened to work together, all right. So with that said, let me just go into the results for the rest of my students, and we look at the overall results, okay, and then we see perhaps maybe we can learn something from there. Okay, I will start off with a blank slide because I'm going to draw the bell curve here. Okay, so as you know, let's assume that we have our axis. Okay, and then this axis will represent the grade of the student, and this axis will represent the number of students. All right, so the grade will be like from F9 all the way to A1, and mostly teach O levels, so this is the grade for O levels, right? If you're aware of the bell curve will look something like this, right? It looks like a bell, it goes up, after that it comes down again, right? And the thing about the bell curve is that this is actually the natural phenomenon, right? Because we would have a small minority that falls into the lower end, and then again we have another minority, a small handful that falls into the upper end. Okay, so obviously the example that I just showed you, right, the JC student, the top student, she belonged to this category. All right, and over the past 8 years, I believe only about 3 or 4 of my students, okay, managed to get, to fall into this category, to get A's, right? And how about the other side, right? And this I would assume would be like C6 and below. And if I'm to count, it's also another handful somewhere between 3 to 4, right? If I count everyone from the beginning of my private tutoring career until now. So, well, it's rather symmetrical, if you ask me. Okay. Now, most of my students, the majority of my students, they're actually secondary school students. When they come to me, most of them are scoring somewhere, in this region, okay, which is between C5, okay, to C6. All right, and to be scoring C5, C6, especially C6, right, is very dangerous. All right, because I do have a couple of students who ended up getting a D7, right, because they were hovering between C6, C6, D7, C6, D7, and throughout the course of the tutoring, there's very little progress, very little improvement, and then national exam ended up with D7. Okay. Now, but fortunately, most of my students who come, they manage to show reasonably good improvements. Okay, if you have the time, you can always review the results of my past students from the previous video, or you can head on to my website and head on to my testimonials page. Most of them actually achieve a B3. Okay, so the majority of my students managed to move from C5, C6 all the way to a B3. Okay, I think we are doing something right here. So if students are able to follow the teaching and they do their homework consistently, they do their part, then they have a very good chance of improving and moving forward to B3. Now, I want to take this opportunity in this video to just mention one thing, okay, that I've observed from my students. Now, the students who belong to this upper limit, okay, right, the student who scored A for general paper, okay, they have superb attitude. All right, the attitude is really, really very good. Okay, they always turn up on time, they always hand in their homework on time, they always pay attention in class, so always polite and respectful, right? So that's the bonus. But the thing that really stands out, that really strikes me, is that over time, right, and some of them, like, they were getting the B4 or C5 or even C6, average results or even below average, and they managed to move up to the upper limit. Why is that the case? A lot of times I observed that these students started to develop an interest in the subject, right? Okay, and for those students who are struggling at in English or at the general paper, you will feel discouraged if you find the paper like too difficult and you continue to struggle. You don't score well, you fail your essays, you don't know what is happening in class. So over time you lose interest, and therefore it's very difficult for your grades to improve. All right, but when the students attend the lessons over time, right, if they pay attention and I try to do my part to make the lessons more interesting, and they find that they're starting to develop an interest in the subject, right, and with some guidance, okay, the smarter students are able to figure out for themselves how to do better in the exams. And then when the results come back, right, and they look at the improvement, they feel encouraged, and they put themselves on the right track, right, which is the upwards trend, right? The result is moving upwards. So that is the result that we want to see, right? But how about the other end of the spectrum, right? The students who get C5, C6. So from my observations, again, based on my experiences with all these students, the key thing that is preventing them from moving forward is that a lot of them are really stubborn. Okay, they're really stubborn. They do not listen to teaching at all, right? They do not listen to advice at all. And a lot of times they're very skeptical when somebody tells them something. And some of these students, they get C6. There are actually two types. Some of them can study, right? But because they're very stubborn, they prefer their own methods, and therefore they are not learning better approaches, right? And on how to approach the subject. And so in the end, time runs out and they score a C6, right? Then there are students who are weak to begin with, right? And on top of that, they are very stubborn and don't listen to the teaching, and they continue to be stubborn throughout the year. Okay, so in the end, they paid the ultimate price. Okay, so for me, with my experience, I can see this happening every year, okay, in all my students, right? And most of my students, after a while, when we start to work together, they start to see the benefits of paying attention and trying to follow the teaching, right? So that's why most of them end up here, okay, getting a high B3, very close to the upper limit, right? So I think 80% of my students, okay, in fact 80 to, I think even as high as 85%, right? Okay, most of them, right, they're able to get B3. Okay, so I hope with this video, okay, you can learn something from it. Okay, I hope you find something useful from it. At the end of the day, it's all about trying to develop the interest in the child, okay, so that they can take on some of that learning, okay, and they feel more motivated, and then at the end of the day, they are the one who benefits the most. All right, so with that said, okay, we have come to the end of today's very short video. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in signing up for lessons, please visit englishttution.org to check out the fees and the schedule. And well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.